You've waited a lifetime to look better and feel better, and now here's your chance. Fitness Friday on WNDB. Call 239-0033 and have your questions answered on health, fitness, and a better life. Fitness Friday is brought to you by Bodez by Tasso & Company, 1140 West Granada Boulevard in Ormond Beach. And now, here's your host, Tasso Kyriakis.
Dave, I was just sort of like, had my eyes closed and I was imagining the show today, and then I hear Billy's theme coming in to launch us, and I go like, oh, I better get to it. I'm on the show. I'm live. Oh my God.
Tasso, are we going to tell people where you are?
Well, I'm in beautiful downtown Route 100 in Flagler County. I'm in the Florida Hospital in Flagler. I had a week ago Wednesday. I had a knee replacement done, and everybody out there's gonna go, "Oh, he's lifting too much weight." No, that's not it. It's all those years of running and lifting weights and wrestling and running, and it's thinking more was better. And we're gonna have a great conversation about that today, as we'll be joined by Jim Flanagan of ProperStrengthTraining.com and a longtime friend. But, just those years that I didn't know any better, and I went out there and pounded it, much like we see the kids of today doing with their boot camps, and we'll talk about
running on pavement.
Made over the years about that.
Running on pavement, Tasso, could be one of the worst things you can do.
Man, and running, my senior year of college, Dave, I did not run. 6 days a week, I did not run less than 14 miles a day.
Yeah. And you were trying to get down to weight, is what it is in wrestling?
Well, for me, it was weight and conditioning. It was because I wasn't as skilled as a lot of the guys I wrestled with, because I didn't have the 4 or 5 years of experience in junior high and high school like a lot of these people up north that I would wrestle against. I didn't start wrestling in my junior year of high school, so you had to take the very basic skills you had, work hard with those, and be in better shape than anybody else. And that's what I prided myself on, was just being in shape. And, a lot of us out there do that. I wish, I don't know how many people I've told that I wish that I could have known back then what I know today about strength training and about total conditioning from the standpoint of saving the body and not overtraining it. And, there's sort of a, for lack of a better term, there's a warrior's attitude in us. There's an ego that eats at us. And we want to tell everybody how we did so many things. I did 100 squats with so much weight or whatever. And we want to be this like, we're Supermen. And now when you get to be 60 years old, that catches up with you a little bit, because a lot of wear and tear on the body over the years. And we just have to be very cautious of that. And we can take good exercise habits and turn them into bad. When I was in college my senior year, I remember seeing an article written. And, at that time I was running quite a bit. And I thought running was the greatest thing in the world. And I'm reading this article, and it says that jogging, they had a picture of Bill Rogers and a skeleton of Bill Rogers running gear. Now, that's dating us a little bit, because you and I know who Bill Rogers was and what his running gear looked like. But it had a skeleton, and it said jogging is killing your joints and is not healthy for you. And I'm like, I was so upset, because I can't believe they'd write trash like this. This is one of the most healthy things you could do. And I really admire the guys that are out there. They're 60 and 70. They can still run, and they've managed their bodies, or their bodies had great genetics to do that. But I realized that a lot of that running I did tore my body up in those years, and we didn't know any better at that time, Dave. We thought more was better, and I was, in this time to reflect, when I've been going through my rehab with my knee, I've had the opportunity to pull out some really old Arthur Jones tapes and DVDs that have been given to me over the years. And Arthur in 1984 was doing a seminar, and he made this statement. He said it was remember the 80s now, Dave. It was about how much could you train. I mean, Dr. Cooper had written The Aerobic Way, and everything was based on aerobic points and training more and more and more. And we were doing this, and I remember that hearing this from Arthur way back then. He says, we're in an age where people want to train as hard as they can and boast how much they train. But really, he says, something I forgot that I heard 25 years ago from a guy, and I never should have forgotten it, was we should try to see how little we can train to stimulate those great changes to the body. And that's really over the years, wisdom has come in, and now research actually supports this. You know, we're seeing more and more research with studies like the McMaster study that led to the Body by Science book by Dr. Doug McGruff and things of that nature. They're showing that to us. Dave, are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
All right.
And so I know we're going to be joined here in just a few minutes by Jim Flanagan, who actually Jim will know Dr. McGruff very well. So, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today with Jim, who was one of the owners of the very first Nautilus Fitness Centers, and he really in Orlando he started that tradition, and that's what we run our body coach program by. So while we're waiting for Jim, let me go ahead and just get everybody up to tune that Tasso Kyriakis here, Bodez by Tasso and Company. Bodez by Tasso and Company is a personalized fitness center for adults. That what we do is our program is broken down into three basic areas that are actually broken up geographically through the club. We have the body coach area, which is our most popular membership and is our supervised membership. Now, right now we're running a tremendous promotion around that membership. If you were to come in and join that membership, it would be $199 to enroll and $59.50 a month. But that membership right now is a $5 enrollment and $39.50 for the first 3 months. So you have an opportunity to save well over $250 over the 3 months. And if you like it, you can continue on with the membership. We do not obligate you past that 3 months. We just want to show you what the body's difference does and means. Now, with that membership, with that short-term 3-month membership, you're also going to get our SciFit Body by Science training that we have put together with our SciFit equipment for very efficient 6-minute aerobic training. And I realize there's a lot of people out there go, how can I get results in 6 minutes? Well, when you come in, we will show you the science behind it, and we'll teach you and show you. The other thing that has been a big addition to Bodez this last quarter is that we added our Fitness on Demand system. The Fitness on Demand system is a program that we run that has over 120 classes. So what we do with that program is you walk in, let's say, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's only you and your workout partner, you and your daughter or husband or son, and you walk over to a little kiosk, and you take that kiosk and you press that kiosk and you say, I want a flexibility class, and I want that flexibility class to last 18 to 35 minutes, and I want it to be relatively easy. And so when we do that, it now gives you options of classes. It may be a yoga class, it may be a Pilates class, whatever genre you've come in. The genres are like dance classes, strength classes, flexibility classes, total conditioning classes. So you'll see kettlebell programs in there. You'll see strength programs using dumbbells. So now you press that kiosk to play, and you can go in the room and do the class that they have there. Neat thing about it is on your schedule. It's on your schedule, and it's on a it's on a 120-inch screen, and it's with the best instructors in the country doing that with you. So hopefully you will take the opportunity. I would like to invite you to take the opportunity to come by Bodez. Call 672-6464. You know, they're not as flexible in their schedule right now because I'm not around to pull out of my office. So we really would appreciate if you would make an appointment, 672-6464. Let them show you around and show you the Body Coach membership and this $5 joining special while I'm out of the club for a couple weeks, rehabbing my knee and getting back to where I can actually go to work a couple hours a day. And we would love to have you as members of the club. I have a great staff down there working very hard. So I'd like you to take the opportunity to come down at this time. And here's why we offer this membership, is you do not have a long-term commitment. It's only a 3-month membership. And you don't have any fear of loss or failure because you know what? We're going to take our appointment with fitness program, we're going to take our Smart Start program, and we're going to move you along through that whole program so you're successful. So, hey, Dave, have we got Jim on the line?
Oh, yeah, sure. He's been waiting, hearing
Oh, okay.
word.
I wish I would have known that he was on. I was just trying to stall. Hey, Jim, how you doing today?
Fine, Tasso. How are you doing?
Good. I'd like to welcome Jim Flanagan. Jim, thanks for taking time out of your schedule. Jim, you're one of the pioneers in what we've been talking about. I don't know if you're on to hear my comment about, and I'm paraphrasing what Arthur said, is, you know, back in the 80s, there was these long-term marathon workouts. People were training longer, harder, and all that. And Arthur made a statement, I think it was in 1984 at the seminar where he was talking about how much the computerized machines were coming along, and they were starting the project which became the best study up at Florida with Hutchins, and they were starting the research on high-intensity training up at the University of Florida. And he made a comment one day. He said, we try and see how much we can do, and really we should see how little stimulus we need to make all these changes occur in our body. And if we knew that, we'd save the body a lot, wouldn't we?
Back in the early 70s
Yeah.
when I first met him. So, yeah, he was way ahead of all of us.
Right. And Jim, let's talk a bit about your background, because as I mentioned before, is that you actually opened the first one that I know of a knowledge training center. It was over in Winter Park, if I remember, and you had to convey at that time a very unique philosophy, because no one had ever heard of walking in the door, getting on a machine, and going through 8 to 12 exercises, working as hard as you could on them, and getting out the back door and actually believing that you could get results with that, right?
Well, it was in the early stages of it. I was a physical educator and wanted to coach, and did teach for a couple of years in the Orange County school system, but couldn't get a coaching job due to getting out in the middle of the year in 1971 and then politics. So I went ahead and opened up my own health club, raised the money, and did that just like you did. And I started training athletes in my garage in 1972 with 5 Nautilus machines. For free, and just because of passion, and coaches couldn't believe the results they were getting. So one thing led to another, and I opened my own fitness center. Had that for 15 years. Had 2 facilities here, one in Pine Hills with a partner, and he kept that, and I had my other one. But along the way, I was very fortunate to go to work for Arthur Jones and help launch Nautilus worldwide. So I've seen it all, and what I've learned in my 44 years of doing this is that basically, at our age, I'll summarize this real quickly. You better get a little stronger so you can hold up a little longer. I think you can relate to that now that you're 60.
Right.
And I saw the whole cardio thing, the whole craze and the running craze, and I saw all these scientific people going to the cocktail parties and the big organizational meetings every year because we were exhibitors. Each year they got more drawn looking and thinner and weaker and slumping over and having knee surgeries and wearing braces and walking on canes,
Right.
all in the name of having a great heart and lung.
Right.
Well, if you take it and break it down, you take your spark plug system, which is your brain, your carburetor system is your heart and lungs. Your bones are your frame, just like the system in a car. But the muscles produce the motion, the movement. The engine is the muscular structures of the body. And what Arthur did in his design, trying to improve the barbell tool, which he did to create a thinking man's barbell, along the way we tested at West Point in 1975 3 parameters of physical fitness: flexibility, cardiovascular ability, and strength. And we also tested fat loss. And that study put Nautilus on the map because the results were astounding, and Dr. Cooper's people came in independently to collect the pre and post data and couldn't believe it. So we were on our way, and that helped launch the concept, the protocols, to advance into to mainstream media, and that happened in 1975.
And a lot of these people
today, look, they've gone backwards today.
Yeah, and a lot of these people that are listening, when I tell someone, they go, well, you own a health club, you must train every day. I said, no, I train twice a week. You go, well, you must train like 3-4 hours. I go, I train, well, my average workout is 13 minutes. And they can't believe that. And, for years when I first opened, Jim, and you know the story because you helped me actually find the first, I bought my first set of Nautilus machines from an IRS sale of a guy who had gone out of business over in Central Florida. And
Yep.
he said, I called you looking for something. He called me back and said, hey, Toss, he says, this guy has the IRS taking these machines. You should call the IRS, see if you get it, because they didn't have a lot of money at the time. And
Yep.
I called him and bought these 8 machines. And I think I bought some leverage equipment from you guys. And I had a 800 square foot room, and I had these 12 exercises. And we would take people through, and we would work them out. And at that time, we still were doing 3 times a week. And I think, number one, because we were younger and recover quicker because of our genetics and rest and that type of thing and the hormonal levels. But the second thing is that's what the prevalent philosophy was for us at that time. And we got people great results. And we never people come in and they would go like, well, don't I go do cardio now? And I said, no, you don't need to do any cardio. People thought I was nuts. Oh, Tasso hates. To this day, people say Tasso hates aerobics. I don't hate aerobics. I don't think it's necessary if you train hard enough on machines and you can use a barbell too, but I particularly like my medics and my knowledge machines. But when you train and go from machine to machine and push that muscle, you work the parameters of muscular function. You make them stronger. You make them have more endurance. You get the heart and lungs more efficient, and you get better flexibility. And you've proved this over and over through your studies, and it stood up in several studies that have been done.
Well, it's interesting. Most people haven't got a clue of what exercise is, and the best definition I ever heard was actually Arthur Jones came up with it. He defined proper exercise as movement against a source of resistance. You must have overload. It's a requirement, and once it's there's two things that occur. Proper exercise produces a very beneficial result, but an undesirable effect. That's the problem. Most people, like you said earlier in your discussion here today, most people train too much, too long, not hard enough, and they're wasting a lot of their time. So that's the problem. Exercise must be hard enough to place a demand on the system to trigger a positive change, and once having done so, they must allow the recovery ability time to take place so growth can take place. And that's what they don't understand that.
And people are afraid of that. They're afraid to work hard. They're afraid of that word intensity because, and I don't know if it's because people just in general, given their choices, want to make things easier, or which we know is human nature, or if it's because they've seen these things over the years in what we would call the fitness magazines, where you see these guys are these freaks of nature, either through steroid use or just through great genetics or whatever. But then they start to hear of these injuries that occur. And, like I remember my first time ever seeing a professional bodybuilder is, you would think, and you're what, 6'6", 6'7", right, Jim?
About 6'5".
6'5", and over 300 pounds, correct?
Well, I'm about 270.
Okay. All right.
I don't want to get 300.
Okay. Well, you're a big guy, is my point. And I remember seeing you do things because you played basketball. And I remember seeing my first professional bodybuilder. People said, well, people that are bodybuilders, they have big muscles, they're too tight. The reality is, if you train properly, is that you should have great flexibility. So I remember seeing, and I don't remember who it was that Arthur was trained. I don't know if it was Casey or someone like that out at Lake Helen. And this guy, whoever it was, I can't remember who the bodybuilder was, one of the first elite bodybuilders I ever saw, could take his right hand and touch his left heel from the backside. That's the kind of flexibility he had. And he wasn't doing yoga. He wasn't doing Pilates. He was strength training in full range of motion, and he was strength training hard. And I think people are very afraid of what they've seen. You see these pictures where people are squatting with one-rep demonstration of strength. I mean, over here in Daytona, we have Spruce Creek High School and the Land, who have had numerous state titles to their strength training programs, their weightlifting programs. But if you go down the line and you look at these kids 5, 6, 7 years later, they have a lot of joint injuries from those one-rep demonstrations of strength. And you and I are big advocates, and you're one of my mentors to this, and I should put a plug in now that people can go to properstrengthtraining.com if they want to read some of your articles and stuff. We're constantly pulling that stuff off for Facebook posts and things like that to reference people to it. But it's about the intensity of the exercise, not the quantity of the exercise. It's not how much you lift, but it's how hard you work when you're lifting it through your good form. Is that correct?
Well, you're right on the money. What's happened, Tasso, in the athletic community is that they believe that they must do explosive maximum lifts, train for speed and power because it's going to make you quicker, which is not true. That is a genetic trait that you're born with. You either have it or you don't. I've trained probably 1,500 people one-on-one in my life that I can, I remember, never hurt anybody. And out of those 1,500 people, I saw some of the quickest hands I've ever seen, but some of them had slow feet. Then some had great, quick feet speed, slow hands. And then I had a bunch of them that had slow feet, slow hands. You don't change it. It is what it is.
Right.
Then I trained a few genetic freaks. I hate to use that term, but they're above the norm. These people had the total package, and those are your superior athletes. Those people have those abilities that not everybody's blessed with, but everybody has individual differences, and they're going to respond to the intensity levels. It's a relative term for the individual. It's a term that it may fit one, but maybe not be hard enough for the other guy. So all these individual differences come into play. But Arthur Jones introduced this equipment, number one, for improving the efficiency, the safety, and training in less time, a better tool, a more efficient way to get from point A to point B than prior to. But today they've gone pre-barbell. They're doing prehistoric things before the barbell came out, as you know. You've seen all these different boot camps and cross-training and things they're doing. And, I mean, you know, there's work output, and you're getting an elevated heart rate, but you're putting yourself at high risk to get hurt.
And Jim, that's really why I wanted to take this presentation today, because so many people have high school athletes, and these kids are going, and, you know, the parents, you know, here's some coaches living in the 50s as far as their philosophy, and they're going, okay, we're going to train Monday through Thursday, we're going to split train, we're going to go upper body, lower body, upper body. They never let the kid rest, and they wonder why these kids never gain weight, and why kids have to go get, you know, creatine phosphate supplements or get steroids in the worst case scenario, because, you know, they don't let these kids rest. And they don't let them come and get the good food in. You know, Kim Woods was on the show with us earlier in the summer, and he really made a big point of so many of these strength coaches. And you know, Kim, he worked with the strongest people in the world for all those years, you know, with working with people in the NFL. And, you know, he understands these concepts. And I don't understand why high school coaches can't get that across, and we think that when we try to train a runner that we should train them every day of the week, twice a day, and swimmers should go twice a day in the pool, and, you know, that type of thing.
Well, you're right, and if you look at the athletic situation today, it's over the top. I mean, you got fall ball, travel ball, off-season. I mean, it's year-round. The kids can't be kids. They're over-practicing and over-playing. And they justify it. More is better, just like exercise. But then now they cross-pollinate into the general fitness population to the average person, and they think you got to do this every day, 5 and 6 days a week. When there again, you're putting yourself at risk to get hurt, and you're not going to recover. Recovery ability is a key factor for change to take place. I tell people you're on an exercise routine. You might as well be on a treadmill going nowhere, because you're not going anywhere. You're running, but you're not going anywhere. You know.
And Jim, you worked out, and just so people understand your background, and again, properstrengthtraining.com, they can go to read some of your articles, but, you know, you work from the standpoint of you work with the FBI, the Secret Service, the CIA, the Air Force, the Marines, the Army, the Navy. You've worked with I would venture to say every NFL team you've been in their camp.
Well, all but one or two. We back in those days, and you were a customer early on too. You remember when you got on board as a customer, we spent a lot of money on teaching. So we were involved in teaching protocols, the safety how to do it properly, efficiency. So we took great pride and spent a lot of money in education. If you bought the tool, learn how to use it properly. Right. And we were very blessed to have that kind of philosophy, and that's what Arthur believed in. And, of course, look at it today. You know, you feel like you lost the war, you know, but you were still out there, and there's people that you deal with that have a little bit of a yearn to want to learn and have the ability to, because they have passion and want to understand it. So that's what you want to deal with.
And you know, I was in Minnesota with our good friend Luke. And when I was up there with Luke Carlson, I said, you know, they were worried about how do we tell the world about how they're doing all this stuff wrong. And I said, well, you know, I'm looking at it from a bottom line. Is the only way I can take. You know, I have a friend that says you can't fix stupid. You know, like I have friends of mine that they try and bring their son-in-laws or brother-in-laws in to train with them. They want to go down and they show how many sets of curls they do, and, you know, like this. And you look at them and go, that boy's a heart attack waiting to happen. Because they think bigger muscles is all they got to have, and they're sitting there doing all these sets. And I sit there and I look at that, and it's very frustrating because, you know, we're not stupid. We have so much science behind it. But I said to Luke, he said, you know, there was a big discussion going with all these trainers are there, and I said, listen, I got to tell y'all something. I said, quit trying to convince the people who don't want to listen to you. We have 15% of the people that are exercising. That means 85% are out there. And what we have is a unique selling proposition. We have time efficient, under 15 minutes of training. Okay, we have less than 3 days a week that we train people. You know, I'll train people 3 days a week when they first start because there's a learning curve, and I can't bring that intensity. They have, just like our friend Mike Bradley at Florida State University says he has to train his athletes how to work hard. Now, here's elite athletes he's dealing with in that strength training program. They've come up, and they're the most decorated athletes in the state of Florida and the southeast of the nation. And the first thing out of his mouth is, I spend the first 8 hours teaching them how to work hard to understand intensity. And we have to do that in our setups in our fitness centers too.
It's a teaching process. That's like Coach John Wooden. You know, the first day of practice, they didn't touch a ball for several weeks. He taught them how to put their socks on every day for about a week, and then how to tie their shoes properly for a week.
Yeah.
So I don't care what it is. There's a process. Everything involves a process, and you have to take step by step to teach it. And I know that's what you do, and so do I. So keep on slugging.
It sometimes doesn't give the people that the people want to get instantaneous results because that's our society. But it's a cinch. We got another friend, Raymond Long, who says it's a cinch by the inch and it's hard by the yard, and that's so true. It's little gains, and again, one of the reasons I do a microfit when I start people, Jim, is I want them to have as many objective parameters to look at for how they're going to change, how their body's going to change, because they're not going to get the six-pack abs, and they're not going to get the 40 pounds off, and they're not going to get the risk of diabetes reversed. And as I study the science, Arthur was brilliant in how he taught us how to train people, because here's the thing is, we start to look at the scientific pathways of the sympathetic and parasympathetic things that go on in the body and how the body repairs. High-intensity training in short, brief moments is genius when you look at the true science behind it, which most people will lose them if we try and talk about that science, because I have a master's degree.
If you go back to the 40s, Tasso, and look at the if you want to call them the bodybuilders, which that's a whole other culture, as you know.
Yeah.
They trained 3 times a week, total body. Mm-hmm. Did you know that?
Yeah.
They trained 3 times. But then all of a sudden, so the people came out with the split routines and all these terms, and body parts and 5-day week, 2 day on, 1 day off, all this exotic training methodologies, which are all geared to sell products.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the guys I idolize, I'm sure you idolize a lot. The Dave Drapers and those kind of people, and the Steve Reeves and those guys, and from watching Hercules and that. Those guys, you never saw them on a cover of a magazine with a hot-looking chick telling you that they use this 5 times a day, this university-studied supplement, whatever it was. They ate good food. They ate steaks. They ate baked potatoes. They ate salads. They put some wheat germ in their shakes when they made shakes, and honey and eggs. And that was their supplements. And I say to this day, those are some of the greatest fitness bodies you'll ever see in your life.
Yep.
And you've had the opportunity to be around most of those guys, I think, too, as well.
Yeah, I met Steve. I got to know Steve Reeves personally very well, and of course Clint Walker is one of my personal friends, and he was a great physique in the motion picture business of cowboy westerns in the 50s, and it was all natural, great genetics, discipline, proper diet, and hard work, and he did it. And he's 87 years old now.
Wow.
Still working out a little bit.
It's amazing to see those guys, because it is true. Those guys are still around, Well, Jim, I appreciate you joining us today, and hopefully we get you on
thanks for having me.
time.
And listen, you take care of your knee, and we'll hook up here soon when you get better. Okay?
All right, Jim. Thanks again. God
Take
bless.
care.
It's properstrengthtraining.com. Jim Flanagan. He's in Orlando. He played at the University of Central Florida when it was called FTU, and I forgot to point it out or ask him, but at one time I believe Jim sank 100 free throws in a row. So he's a great athlete, and he's a big guy, and I've come to respect him for his knowledge. Now, one of our other good friends, and at this time I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our sponsors of Fitness Friday. Number one is Kalen's Home Furnishings, who has supplied us with these great $3,000 stressless chair to give away to one of our lucky members here at the end of the summer. Kalen's Furniture with Rob and Len down there have really helped us, and we appreciate them being involved in our membership promotion as we try and grow our club and keep it going. The other one that makes Fitness Friday available to people and comes in the third week of every month is our friend, Dr. Lorenzo Fahn. Dr. Fahn, how are you doing today?
Oh, great. Thank you, Tassos. I hope you're doing well, too.
I'm doing a lot better today than I was a couple days ago, thank God. So Dr. Fahn, let's talk today a little bit. First of all, we'll let everybody know that you're located at 725 West Granada in Ormond Beach, and your phone number is 615-1203. But what I do constantly is I say to people, I think the first thing you need to do if you have never done acupuncture is to go have a stress relief treatment from Dr. Fahn. It's inexpensive. It's 30 minutes long. And I want to tell you that it will just be something really, really awesome and start to change your body. Now, people don't see the benefit of that. But let's talk a little bit today about anxiety and stress, because I see from people I interview coming into my program, I see they talk about can't sleep. They talk about they have mood changes and energy changes, which are hormonal, and all these things are linked to stress. And I would have never had this conversation with you, 7, 8 years ago if we would have first met, because I had not experienced what you do with your acupuncture. So let's talk about the whole stress cycle. And women who are out there who are premenopausal, postmenopausal, you're probably shaking your head going, oh yeah, I have hot flash. This, in reality, starting with the stress treatments of acupuncture, which we don't tend to see acupuncture in that light. But let's talk about that some.
I think the public view is acupuncture to eliminate aches and pain because of the limited of exposures, educations, and common knowledge. So I think majority of our listeners or our local communities, they are right, but they think in the box. They have not think outside the box because I known you 7, 8 years because of acupunctures are dynamic. It can treat from neurological. Today is our focus and share the knowledge about how acupuncture can help with anxiety, PTSD, and depression and insomnia. First thing I would like to announce is that from the mid-September, we offer every Monday for all the veterans who come back from Iraq and Afghanistan who experience or suffer from PTSD, which means the post-traumatic stress syndrome, and would like to some help naturally or in conjunction with the medicals and conventional drugs. That is, we offer every Monday 4 to 6 p.m. So if you are listening to WNDB today, Friday, and I need you to relate this message to your loved ones, families, and friends. And we officially offer a start from September, mid-September.
So to clarify for people, Dr. Fahn, because you're so confident of what you can do for stress, and post-traumatic stress syndrome is exactly that. Stress is when there's been an overload with no relaxation, just like Jim and I just started talking about people overtrained. They don't allow their bodies to recover. Mentally, we don't allow ourselves to recover. So you run a special program starting from mid-September, every Monday from 4 to 6. Veterans of Iraq and